Everyone is talking about AI. Almost no one is explaining what it actually is. You've heard the word thousands of times. You've used the tools. You've read the headlines. But if someone asked you right now, not what AI can do, but what it actually is, how it works, and why it behaves the way it does, could you answer clearly? Most people can't, and that's not their fault. Almost everything written about AI either explains how to use specific tools or goes so deep into technical detail that it loses everyone without a computer science degree. This video takes a different approach. No tools, no tutorials, no jargon. Just a clear, honest explanation of what artificial intelligence actually is at a conceptual level, so you can think and talk about it with real precision. Let's start with the most important thing most people get wrong. AI is not a thinking machine. It is not a digital brain. It does not understand the world the way you do. Here is the most accurate, simple definition. AI is a system that learns patterns from data and uses those patterns to generate outputs. That's it. Everything else, the impressive answers, the generated images, the medical diagnoses, the autonomous vehicles, all of it is a consequence of that one underlying mechanism: pattern learning from data. Now let's look at why that matters. Most people confuse three things that are actually very different: traditional software, automation, and AI. Traditional software follows rules. A programmer writes explicit instructions. If this happens, do that. The software doesn't learn anything. It executes exactly what it was told to execute. Automation is similar. It takes repetitive tasks and handles them based on predefined triggers and conditions. It's powerful and useful, but it breaks the moment something unexpected happens that wasn't accounted for in the rules. AI, specifically machine learning, works differently. Instead of following rules written by humans, it learns from examples. You give it millions of examples of something, and it develops its own internal representation of the patterns in those examples. It doesn't need a human to write every rule. It figures out the rules from the data. That difference, rules versus learned patterns, is fundamental. It explains why AI can do things traditional software can't, and it explains why AI fails in ways that traditional software doesn't. So how does AI actually learn? Let me walk you through the core process. It starts with data, enormous amounts of it. For a language model, the kind that powers ChatGPT or Claude, that data is text. Billions of documents, books, websites, conversations. For an image recognition system, it's millions of labeled photographs. The data is the raw material. Without it, you have nothing. Then comes training. During training, the AI system makes predictions. It looks at a piece of data and tries to predict what comes next, or what category something belongs to. It measures how wrong its prediction was, and it adjusts its internal parameters, called weights, to be less wrong next time. This happens billions of times across billions of examples. When training is complete, you have a model, a fixed set of weights that encodes everything the system learned. When people say GPT-4 or Gemini or any other named AI system, they're naming a model, a specific trained set of weights. And then there's inference. This is when you actually use the model. You give it an input, a question, an image, a document, and it processes that input through its weights to generate an output. This is the moment AI produces value, and it's also the moment things can go wrong. Here's the critical insight about inference. The model is not retrieving stored facts. It is not reasoning through your question. It is generating the most statistically plausible continuation of the pattern you've given it. That subtle distinction explains almost everything that is both impressive and frustrating about modern AI. Which brings us to the question everyone eventually asks: does AI actually understand what it's doing? The answer is no. And understanding why, while also understanding why AI outputs can feel so convincing, is the single most important thing an AI literate person needs to grasp. When a language model writes a coherent essay, it isn't reasoning through the argument. It is predicting, one word at a time, which sequence is most statistically consistent with patterns from its training. The result can be eloquent, accurate, and genuinely useful, but the process is categorically different from human reasoning. 3 things make AI feel more intelligent than it is. First, scale. Training on hundreds of billions of examples produces output quality that genuinely surprises. Statistical patterns at that scale start to look like conceptual depth. Second, coherence. Language models are optimized to produce fluent, well-structured text. Confident, coherent prose is psychologically persuasive, even when the content is wrong. Third, projection. Humans are wired to attribute understanding and intent to anything that produces language. It's a deep cognitive bias, and it's working on all of us, all the time, when we interact with AI. This also explains AI hallucinations, when AI confidently states things that are factually wrong. This is not a malfunction. It is the predictable result of a system optimized for plausibility, not truth. The model generates what sounds like a reasonable answer, because sounding reasonable is what it was trained to do. Now let's talk about what AI actually can't do, because calibrating the limits is just as important as understanding the capabilities. AI cannot reliably generalize beyond its training. When it encounters inputs significantly different from what it was trained on, it can fail in ways that are sudden and hard to predict. Humans call this common sense. AI doesn't have it. AI has no persistent memory. Most AI systems don't remember previous conversations. They don't know you. They don't build a model of the world over time. Each session, in most cases, starts fresh. AI cannot verify its own outputs. There is no internal fact-checking mechanism. The system cannot distinguish between a true statement and a plausible-sounding false one. It generates the most statistically likely continuation, and that continuation can be wrong. AI reflects its training data. Every bias, gap, and error in the training data is absorbed into the model. Those biases can affect decisions at massive scale before anyone detects them. And AI is not neutral. Every AI system encodes choices about what data to train on, what objectives to optimize for, what outputs to reward. Those choices are value-laden, even when they appear purely technical. If this gave you a clearer framework for thinking about AI, the next step is going deeper. The full guide to this topic is on the A-Ignited blog. And if you want a structured program in AI literacy built for non-technical leaders and professionals, the AI Literacy and Strategic Leadership Certificate is exactly that. No technical background required, just a serious interest in thinking clearly about one of the most consequential technologies in human history. I'll see you next time.